There's some interesting writing. I wanted to talk about the economy a little bit too with you. Um, David Stockman has an interesting piece out. Actually, there's a number of economists who have been looking at the world economic situation and the American economic situation, but increasingly, it's all becoming one. It's all interpenetrated by a web, an international web of transnational corporations and banks and trade agreements that allow the transnational corporations and the banks to basically be the parties that are writing, making, and enforcing the laws, unfortunately. And so the essence of what I wanted to share with you is this is something that I saw in 2000. I saw this in 2007 on this program. In 2007, I was warning people about the housing bubble, about what was going on. When you see ads on every phone pole, ads for seminars on how to get rich in your spare time at the local hotel, just show up. It's only $300 for the day, and we're going to teach you how you can buy homes with no money down and get rich, right? There was, that's those kind of things only happen in the midst of massive bubbles, and there is a massive bubble going on right now, and it's not a good one. And it's being right now. This is the mind-boggling statistic I got out of this piece in David Stockman's reporting, is that roughly 40% of 40 to 50% of all mortgages right now, or of all house sales right now, are cash sales, which means that now typically it's under 20%, which because people who are buying a house to live in it get a mortgage. People who are buying a house to invest in it pay cash and then flip the house, and there's a big difference. And so what that means is that because of our trade deficit, because of our $600 billion a year trade deficit, we've got all these people and corporations and countries around the world that are stuck with U.S. dollars, that we paid them for their stuff, their cheap stuff that we sell in Walmart, and they've got to put those dollars someplace. And so they're putting it into real estate all across the country, principally on the coasts. In fact, principally on the West Coast, from Seattle all the way down to San Diego. And it's driving housing prices like there's no tomorrow. And that then is sustaining the stock market. And all these derivatives now are being created out of rent-to-own housing. Right? There's a whole brand new thing. These investors, they go in, they buy a house for cash, the house in distress, fix the house up enough to make it rentable, and then give people a rent-to-own thing where you pay a certain amount of rental, and after a certain number of years, a certain percentage of that money is applied toward a down payment. And most people who are doing rent-to-own, first of all, the rates can be very high, and secondly, most people don't ultimately end up owning the house. They just rent for a year or two or three and then go away. But what's happened is that the banksters are taking these rent-to-own contracts, and instead of using mortgage contracts to create derivatives, they're creating derivatives out of these rent-to-own contracts. They're also creating derivatives out of student loan debt, and they're also creating derivatives out of out of automobile loan debt. And we're back to the point now where we've got something over 600, 700, 800 trillion, nobody knows for sure, $1 trillion worth of derivatives out there of completely funny money in a world that is, that only has a $65 trillion annual gross domestic product. That's it for the entire planet, is 65 trillion. But these banksters are sitting on over $600 trillion worth of these phony baloney derivatives. We have financialized our economy. While China has been building an industrial economy, we have been building a financial economy ever since 1980. This is the major shift that Reaganomics brought us. And it is setting us up for a serious problem. And not just us. We're not the only ones who bought into that neoliberal consensus that Margaret Thatcher started pitching in 1978. Jimmy Carter bought into it, deregulated the trucking industry in 79, deregulated the travel industry in 79. And then of course Reagan took it full tilt, Boogie, and we've been in that era ever since. And you know, I understand it was sold with, you know, the best of intentions. Here's how we can make the world a better place. Here's how we're going to help people. But it didn't work. It doesn't work. And it needs to be changed.